Hey there, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the Sassanid Empire, also called the Sasanian Empire, and the rise of Islam. So take a look at your timeline, focus on some major events. Feel free to pause this if you need to. Diving right into the key concepts. The major themes we'll be discussing today include trade and communication. We'll really be getting into cross-cultural exchanges. We'll touch on it a bit in these podcasts, but later when we start talking about the spread of Islam in Africa and Asia, we'll come back to this. The diffusion of literary, artistic, and cultural traditions. We'll also focus on the diffusion of disease in this week and next week when we get to the Byzantine Empire and the plague of Justinian. Joining me today is Felix, who is being incredibly nice to me right now. The last time this happened, where he was being this friendly and lovable, I honestly thought he was dying and I took him to the vet. Nope. Every once in a while, he just cares. And also joining us is Lily. Oh, hi, sweetie. All right, so let's move in. The Sassanid Empire, or Sasanians, 224 to 651 CE. And as you can see on the map, they do control the areas of Iran and Mesopotamia. So I want you to think about all of the empires that we have studied so far that have been in this territory. Think about Persia, the Assyrians, the Babylons, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. We briefly touched on the Parthian Empire as well. And this slide, you can see where the Byzantine Empire is, and that'll be our topic for next week, and the relationship that these two will have with each other. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, mostly focusing on trade. Now, some things you should know. Number one, hi, Lily. The Sasanians are the last pre-Islamic empire in this region, and the people who are here are benefiting from the invention of the camel saddle, because that allows them not only to take part in, but to take control of the caravan trade. And these people are called Arabs because if you look at the location of where they're at, you can see where all they can reach out to, what the culture is going to be influenced by. Like the Byzantines, the Sasanians maintained strong central control of their state and managed the successful integration of frontier peoples into it. So saying like the Byzantines might not mean anything right now, but you can also think about like the Persian Empire, like the Roman Empire. They maintain strong central control and manage the successful integration of the people who are being brought into it. It's not us versus them. It's, hey, we're all in the empire's borders. Now, eventually they do lose control, but that's later. The Silk Road brought new products in, including a number of crops from India and China. Rice would be a big one, cotton as well, and certain spices. And the empire lasts until 651 when it's overthrown by the First Arab Caliphate. Zoroastrianism is the official religion. And this is one reason why the Byzantine and the Sasanian Empire have so much in common. Not only are they both strong authority figures within the empire, but you also have state sponsorship of religion. And what's very interesting is that even though both of these empires do that, the state sponsorship of Zoroastrianism by the Sassanid Empire sets a precedent for the link that develops between the Islamic religion and the Islamic State. The Byzantines and the Sasanian Empire saw state involvement in theological struggles within and without of each other. Religion replaced citizenship, language, and ethnicity as the paramount factor in people's identity. And here's just some artwork from both empires. Play a fun game, see if you can figure out which one's which. If you can't, you can ask me in class. I'm happy to point it out for you. But I want you to take a look at some of the features, some of the clothing, the style of the artwork itself, and see if you can tell me on Tuesday which one is which. Genealogy. So a common ancestor in both Christianity and Islam and even Judaism is Abraham. And we have two different trees, or two different tribal trees, if you will. Abraham with his wife Sarah, their son Isaac, and then Isaac's son Jacob. Jacob is the father of the 12 men who lead the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, Abraham with Hagar, their son Ishmael, they have the 12 Arabian tribes. So take a look. Notice similarities. Notice the names. Hint, test, hint. Sorry about that. All right, and we're back talking about the Arabian Peninsula. Focus on this area. Take a look. Look at the surrounding regions. Map quiz. Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea. This is pretty important. You need to know your geography. So let's dive in with the life and teachings of Muhammad from 570 to 632. We'll be focusing on what happens during Muhammad's life. He was born about 570 to a wealthy merchant family in Mecca, and Arabs worshipped many different deities during the time of his birth who resided in natural objects. And Arabs also traded goods with Palestine and Syria, which was very easy based on their location. While he was in his 40s, Muhammad began to have a series of visions. Many believe that these started around 610. And Islam means submission or surrender to Allah. Islam incorporated many practices from other traditions, and it did change others. And in 620, people in Medina converted, hoping to end a feud between clans. Now, what's very important is these visions that Muhammad was receiving were from the angel Gabriel, and they came from the one true God, Allah. And the message is that there is only one God and people should submit to him. And at the final day of judgment, those who had submitted would go to heaven, those who had not would go to hell. And his revelations were considered to be the final revelations, superseding earlier ones from Noah, Moses, and Jesus. And the phrase people of the book, it actually comes from Islam, and it's a way of looking at Judaism, Christianity, and Islam and realizing, hey, we're not so different. We all believe in one God. A lot of the same people you will find in the Quran and the Bible, which is why we will be reading excerpts from both of them in class. Unfortunately, Muhammad's authority as the agent of the one true God alarmed traditional elites, and he had to flee. But in 624, Muhammad and his followers raised an army in Medina and fought back against Mecca. And Muhammad explained why this area was so important. And he explained that the Kaaba was originally a shrine to commemorate the near sacrifice of Abraham's son to God. And what you can see here is that location. In Medina, Muhammad's followers and other converts formed a single community of believers called the Ummah. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. And my tree got a little messed up, but that's okay. One thing we're going to be talking about is the split between Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. Unfortunately, when Muhammad dies in 632, he was preaching his last sermon at Mount Arafat outside of Mecca, and he did not leave any directions for a successor. And what we can see here, so Muhammad's first wife, Khadijah, through this marriage, they have a daughter named Fatima. And Fatima marries Ali. And then after Khadijah dies, Muhammad marries one of his wives is named Aisha, and her father is Abu Bakr. After Muhammad's death, Abu Bakr took over leadership of the Ummah as the successor of Muhammad, also called the Caliph. And he faced two major tasks. One was the standardization of the Islamic religion, and then the consolidation of the Islamic State. And he was able to successfully reestablish Muslim authority over the Arabs and oversaw the organization of the Quran in book form. And this is a major difference between the Quran and the Bible. For one, the Bible was written by many different people and it was put together at different times. The Quran is put together by one person and it's put together all at one time. This would also lead to further disagreements over the question of succession because people are disagreeing on who, first of all, is Abu Bakr even the rightful heir, and then after he dies, who is the next successor. A civil war ends up being fought between those who supported keeping the caliph in Uthman's clan, and they're called the Umayyah, and those who supported the claim of Muhammad's first cousin and son-in-law Ali. And the Umayyah won, and they established the Umayyad Caliphate in 661. After Abu Bakr, guys, and guys, there's a reason why it's always the next successors are always men who are either cousins or in-laws to Muhammad, and that's because he had 4 daughters, but he didn't have any male heirs. And after Abu Bakr dies, Muslim chose his father-in-law by his second wife. And I'll show you that tree in just a minute. The split continues between the Sunni and the Shiite because these disagreements led to the development of 3 rival sects in the Muslim community. And the Shiites, who supported Ali's claim, as well as the Sunnis, who believed the first 3 caliphs had been correctly chosen. And what I wanted to show you is the order of the caliphs. First starting with Abu Bakr, and then Umar, who was father of Hafsa, Muhammad's wife. And then Uthman, who was the husband of Muhammad's daughters. He married one of Muhammad's daughters, and then she died, and then he married a second one. After Uthman is assassinated, and this is really what starts the divide between Sunni and Shia, you have Ali. He is not only the cousin to Muhammad, he's also his son-in-law because he's married to Fatima. And then the son of Ali, Hassan, in 661, he abdicated. The Umayyad dynasty begins, but a major, the final split, if you will, is when Hussein is assassinated. And Hussein is a caliph only in Shia, and this is the end of the Shia caliphs because after Hassan abdicates and Hussein takes the caliph, his entire family is assassinated, and this ends the line of true caliphs in Shia Islam. So here's an image of the Quran. And Muslims believe it contains the word of God. There are 114 chapters. And it is written in Arabic. All right, so as you can see, we're looking at territory, first Islamic world under Muhammad, and then territory added by the first 4 caliphs until 661. Pretty impressive. And then territory added by the Umayyad caliphs from 661 to 750. And you can also see their military campaigns. And this is very important, this region right here. This is going to play, the fact that the Umayyad caliphs are on the Iberian Peninsula, this is going to play a huge role in 1492 during the Reconquista of Spain. And we will talk extensively about that, but I want you to remember who is there right now. I'm pointing at the screen, but you can't see that, so here we go. Who is there during this time period and how they got there. All right, that's where we're going to cut it for today. We are going to pick up in just a little bit, moving on to the spread of Islam. So have a great night, guys.